how to make your job work for you. And on Friday, we are so excited to support you in sharing the tools to feel empowered in your everyday life, in your everyday work life, and have your work be in full alignment with your needs, your desires, with your makeup, your chart, your constitution, and your purpose. So I am so excited to welcome back Carly, an empowerment and wellness coach who I love dearly, a dear friend of mine. And so I'm so excited to have you here with us today, Carly. And I would love for you to share, why is this so important for you to share right now?
Hi, Maya. Thanks for having me. And Ayana, I'm excited to be here and to share some of the ideas I have around finding harmony in the work experience. This is something near and dear to my heart because I've worked in a variety of work environments. So, like startups, I worked for myself, I've been a dance instructor, and I've worked in more linear in work environments. So, I've worked in different kinds of places that had different types of energies. And now I work full time in a healthcare, kind of more corporate but nonprofit setting, while also being an empowerment and wellness coach on the side and working on content on the side in that way too. And I feel that, especially through the pandemic and working from home, it's been really important for people to find agency in the way that works best for them, and to have clear communication and set boundaries for what does and does not work for them. Because a lot of people have gotten used to in our society, we're kind of taught to, just fall in line, do what we're told to do in a corporate work environment oftentimes. And the tide is shifting, and employees have more leverage to work in the way that works best for them. So my hope in this discussion is to help people feel empowered to voice their concerns, to work in a way that is in alignment for them. So whether they work for themselves, they work in a traditional corporate setting or a nonprofit or grassroots kind of organization, whatever the case may be, they feel like they can show up as their fully aligned, authentic self, communicate their needs, and not feel burnt out and not feel like they're not working out of in alignment with who they truly are and who they desire to be.
I think that's so important, especially that you're bringing up. Most people now are working remotely. And I think it's because it's new and you haven't really developed the habits or the routines that is so different from, you wake up, you get ready, and you would drive to work. Right at a certain time, you have a break for exactly 1 hour. You leave, and then that's the end of the day. And then you get to fully decompress and relax. But when you're working from home, what I find that a lot of people are working a lot longer or a lot more. They're not taking the proper breaks. And something that you mentioned earlier when we were discussing this offline is when let's say your boss wants a meeting with you, and you are aware it's not going to be a productive meeting, it's unnecessary, they can actually you can communicate in other ways to still be able to get to the results or the conversation that you need without necessarily having to put the 10th meeting on your calendar. And so that's a lot of courage and bravery right there, to tell your boss, no, I'm not going to take this meeting, let's do it this way. And it is possible. So I would love for you to share with us just what are some of the things that our listeners can anticipate this Friday. And also, if you can share, if there was just one thing that you would like our audience to take away and just learn or implement today, I would love for you to share that as well.
Definitely. Yeah, and then one quick follow-up thing I'd like to say about setting boundaries at work, like you were mentioning with meetings, is that there are certain things we can do in communication with our employers, our managers, but there are certain companies who is part of the culture. So I just want to say that I work for an organization that really is part of the culture because it's mission driven, it's spiritual. And so I've kind of learned through working in this specific organization how to better voice boundaries too with meetings, because it's already part of the culture. So that's something that, we can talk through too on when we meet on Friday is, if you are in the job hunt too, looking for places that have a mission that's in alignment with who you are and your soul mission, because it's possible to find that. And I really lucked out, I'll just say, when I found this organization, because it is a corporate environment, but it's kind of not, it's not what I'm typically used to in that way, where you aren't respected, or you're not, you have to work a certain amount of hours or a certain kind of structure, and over your capacity. So obviously you do work in a normal typical work day, but anyway, I'll just say that I feel really grateful to have found that, and it's possible for people to find a job that works for them. So in our discussion, I would like to talk about routines to set you up for success for your workday, and these apply to also just life in general. So we'll talk about morning and sleep habits and routines. We'll talk about setting boundaries. So we've touched on that a bit today, but so ways that we can instill boundaries at home, and then that can apply to other facets of life too. And we'll really,
I think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no.
Well, so I'll just touch on that, because I think that that's really important with the routines and boundaries. If you are in corporate and you're also trying to launch your own business, it's so important to build a routine that allows you to move the needle in your side business, but still show up fully for work, and still be able to be in your kapha, be able to relax and have that balance and joy and rest in your life as well.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, a routine can really make or break how you feel throughout the day. But I think it's also important, we'll talk through this when we meet, to be gentle with ourselves. It doesn't have to look the same, and it shouldn't look the same necessarily every day. Consistency is important, and it's great to have some structure, but also allow ourselves grace when the structure shifts, because life just isn't predictable all the time. So we need to also be able to ebb and flow with the tide. But yeah, we'll talk a lot about boundaries, and then I would love to dive into productivity life hacks. We've explored this a bit in our initial conversation. But one thing I'd like to talk about that's been hugely transformative in my life since I implemented this practice, it's called habit stacking. So instinctually, I had started doing this thing, habit stacking, several years ago. And then I found out more about it, and gave it the actual term habit stacking when I read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. So this is a term he coined, but I had been doing this along my life, balancing my creative endeavors and working. So what habit stacking is that you do something like a menial task, like washing the dishes. This can apply to many different tasks, but this is how I implement it in my life. So you can do the dishes, you're brushing your teeth, you're driving a car. I mean, obviously driving a car, you're paying attention, but it's something that where you're doing a task that doesn't take a lot of extra energy and force with your thought, and you're learning something at the same time, so for me, that's how I approach it. So while I'm doing the dishes or brushing my teeth or folding laundry or driving a car or walking, oftentimes I will have on a podcast, an audiobook, or a course, so that I'm learning and taking in the information while I'm doing a task that does not require a lot of my thought energy. But this could be true of, you can habit stack with different things. So another example is being on a cycle, doing indoor cycling, being on your indoor bike or something, and then also listening to a course you're taking. It can be, so then that way you're exercising while you're learning something new. So say you have a full day, a full schedule with work and life and kids, family, whatever it may be, and you would love to get into your exercise time, but you're like, how am I going to get this in during the day? I have to be, you could even do it while being in a meeting if you're not needing to be on camera, right? So say you have a meeting, a work meeting, and you don't need to be on camera and you're listening, you could hop on your bike and cycle while you're listening. And I mean, I wouldn't recommend that if you need to talk, because you might get out of breath. If you're just listening and you're obviously support to stay present, but if you can talk your laptop on the bike, I know people who have done it. I mean, I've been on my bike while listening to a course. So it's it kind of depends on what works for you, because if you need to take notes in the meeting, maybe that doesn't work, but could work. That way you're getting your workout in while you're doing your work. And this isn't always recommended. There are great exercises that, it's important to be really rooted in the moment. And so you wouldn't necessarily want to be distracted by tech and other things, but it does work for a lot of things. And I find that when I'm washing the dishes or brushing my teeth or folding laundry, it makes the experience of these seemingly mundane tasks more interesting too. And I look forward to doing them actually, because I get to listen. It's like a treat. I get to listen to my podcast that I want to learn something new from, or I get to read an audiobook because I like to listen to different ones at the same time while reading physical books sometimes too. And so for anyone, if you want to learn something new, or you just want to double up on your tasks to be able to feel like you're getting all the nourishment in your day that you'd like, it's a nice life hack so that you don't feel like you get to the end of your workday having worked 8+ hours and then feel like, well, I didn't get my exercise in, or I didn't get my whatever in that you're wanting to slip in there. So it's not possible for every task. Like things like journaling, meditation do require you to be in the moment and to dedicate your attention and time to it. But if you can habit stack, I highly recommend it, because it makes life really interesting. And not everyone will that will jive with, but if it works for you, I say try it out, see what you think, and start stacking habits together. And you never know what can come through when you try it.
I really appreciate all of the subtleties that you've also shared in this as well, which is there being in the present moment, so doing just one thing at a time, but then also, is it for everybody as well, or it's also circumstantial depending on what it is, what are the things that you actually need to do. So it's you're really just highlighting what it means to be in the ebbs and flow of your own awareness of your current needs and where you want to go. So I really, really love this. And I have so many questions to ask you just from this. And you are all going to have to wait until Friday to not only join the conversation, but ask your questions. We really want to hear from you and also learn from you as well, because the tools that we'll be providing for you are really because these are our practices that we actually implement, that we know work, and we love to share it with you. And we're also aware that it is not for everybody, but if you love to be curious, if you love to learn, this is a space to go into to really learn about all of these amazing new different things. Because productivity and life hacks really can, I don't want to say life hacks supports productivity, is really going to move the needle a lot faster if you are doing multiple things, like have a full-time job and want to launch your business at the same time. So we're so excited to see you on Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. No, it's backwards. So it's 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central European Time. And the link is going to be in our bios, and we can't wait to see you there.